They thought I was stealing from them. For 3 weeks, the four most dangerous alphas in Seoul watched me leave their Gangnam compound every night with bags I never brought in. In their world, betrayal only had one punishment: death. I could feel their eyes on me, always watching, always calculating. Kang Minho, the pack leader, cold, sharp-edged, built like a blade. Park Ji-hoon, the enforcer, all violence and fire, barely restrained. Choi Seojin, the strategist, quiet, observant, the one who noticed everything I tried to hide. And Yoon Tae-hyun, the ghost, silent, lethal, moving through shadows like he was born from them. They controlled half of Seoul's underworld: nightclubs, ports, money laundering, real estate, everything. They noticed every number, every transaction, every flicker of fear in someone's eyes. Except me. For 2 years, I'd worked as their assistant. I answered calls, managed schedules, cleaned blood off their floors when deals went wrong, stitched wounds when their enemies got too close. I moved through their empire like I didn't exist, invisible, silent, forgotten, until 3 weeks ago. I didn't know what changed. Maybe Minho finally looked up from his ledgers long enough to see me. Maybe Seojin's cameras caught something I'd missed. Maybe Jihoon's paranoia finally landed on the right target. All I knew was that Tuesday night, when I slipped out the side entrance with my bags, I felt the weight of 4 alpha gazes burning into my spine. I didn't run. Running meant guilt. I walked 2 blocks to the bus stop, same as always. Waited under the broken streetlight, same as always. Took Route 47 south, same as always. But this time I wasn't alone. A black sedan rolled 3 cars behind the bus. Tinted windows. No plates I could see from this angle. Them. I should have been terrified. Any sane Omega would have been. These men had built an empire on fear and blood. They didn't ask questions. They made examples. But I was tired. So damn tired. Let them follow. Let them see. Maybe it would finally be over. The bus rattled through Gangnam's bright commercial core, past high-rises and designer boutiques, then slowly descended into darkness. Streetlights grew sparse. Glass towers gave way to crumbling apartments with boarded windows and graffiti-stained walls. Guro District, the dead zone. 10 years ago, this place had been alive. Families, children, corner stores, churches. Then the Kang Pack came. They bought one building, one block, one street at a time. Not to build, to destroy. They needed empty land for a new port, for warehouses, for operations no one was allowed to question. Hundreds of families were thrown onto the streets. Those who refused to leave, well, fires happened, accidents happened, deaths no one investigated. Guro became a graveyard, and the 4 alphas never looked back. Until tonight. I got off at the last stop, shouldering my bags. The weight cut into my shoulders, medical supplies, rice, canned vegetables, children's vitamins, everything I could carry. The sedan idled half a block away, waiting. I turned into the alley behind the old church, my feet knowing every step by heart, past rubble piles, past rusted cars, past the broken playground where children used to laugh. I stopped at the side door of St. Michael's. 3 knocks. Pause, 2 knocks. The door opened, spilling warm yellow light into the dark. Jiwon, Father Kwan smiled, weathered face crinkling. You're late tonight. Traffic, I lied, glancing back at the alley's entrance. 4 shadows materialized from the darkness. My heart didn't race. It should have. Instead, I felt something strange. Relief, maybe. Or resignation. Go inside, Father, I said quietly. Lock the door. Jiwon, please. Father Kwan's eyes found the approaching alphas. His face went pale, but he nodded and disappeared inside. The lock clicked. I set my bags down and turned to face them. Minho led, hands in the pockets of his black coat, expression unreadable. Jihoon flanked his right, fists already clenched. Seojin hung back, observant as always. Taehyun circled to cut off my escape route, not that I had one. Han Jiwon. Minho's voice was ice and steel. You've been busy. I met his eyes. Big mistake. Alphas hated that, but I was done bowing. Yes, I said simply. Jihoon stepped forward, growling low. You've been stealing from us. No. Then what's in the bags? Seojin asked, too calm, too controlled. I could have lied, should have lied. Instead, I told the truth. Food, medicine, blankets, everything you didn't take from the people you destroyed. Silence. The kind that comes before violence. Minho's jaw tightened. You're feeding the rats in this district. I'm feeding human beings, I corrected, voice steady despite my racing pulse. People who had lives before you turned this place into a ghost town. Jihoon lunged. Taehyun caught his arm, surprisingly gentle. You know what we do to thieves, Minho said, stepping closer. To traitors. I'm not a thief. I didn't back away. I earn my salary. What I do with it is my business. Everything you do is our business, Jihoon snarled. I felt it then. The pull. The thing I'd kept buried for 23 years. The ability I'd hidden since I was 5. Since the first time I'd touched someone's hand and seen their death before it happened. Precognition. The curse of knowing futures I couldn't change. And right now, standing in this alley, I saw 4 different paths forward. In 3 of them, I died tonight. In 1, everything changed. I took a breath and made my choice. If you're going to kill me, I said, meeting each of their eyes in turn, at least let me finish my delivery first. Those people haven't eaten. Today. Then I picked up my bags, turned my back on 4 apex predators, and walked toward the church basement entrance. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I could feel their shock like electricity in the air. An omega, defying alphas, walking away from certain death. The basement door opened. Warm light. Children's laughter. The smell of soup. And behind me, 4 alphas stood frozen, watching me disappear into the place they tried so hard to forget. The stairs creaked under my weight. Old wood, half-rotted, but Father Kwon refused to replace them. Said the sound warned people when strangers approached. Smart man. The basement opened up before me, larger than it looked from outside, lit by bare bulbs hanging from exposed beams. 20, maybe 25 people scattered across the space. Some sat on plastic chairs, others on torn mattresses, a few directly on the concrete floor. All of them looked up when I entered. Jiwon! A small voice pierced the quiet. Kim Dae-ho, 7 years old, launched himself at my legs. I barely managed to set the bags down before he crashed into me. Easy day, I laughed, ruffling his hair. I'm not going anywhere. You're late, he accused, big eyes serious. Appa said maybe you weren't coming. When have I ever not come? Never, he admitted, then grinned. Did you bring cookies? Maybe. I pulled a small package from my jacket pocket. But only if you promise to share with Minseo. Deal. He snatched the cookies and ran off, shouting for his best friend. Their laughter echoed off the concrete walls, bright and pure and completely out of place in this tomb of a district. I straightened, ignoring the ache in my shoulders, and started unpacking. Rice into the storage containers. Canned goods stacked by date. Medical supplies sorted into the makeshift first aid station Father Kwon had built from milk crates and plywood. You're tense. Tonight. I didn't startle. Lee Han-woo moved quietly for a man with 1 leg. Long day, Ren, I said, not looking at him. He settled onto the chair beside me, wooden crutch propped against the wall. Father Kwon locked the door. He only does that when there's trouble. Perceptive bastard. It's handled, I lied. Is it? Hyunwoo's gaze was too knowing. At 31, he'd seen more darkness than most people twice his age. Because I know that look, Jiwon. That's your I might die tonight, but at least I'll die doing the right thing look. You're dramatic. And you're deflecting. I sighed, abandoning the cans. There are 4 alphas upstairs who think I've been stealing from them. Hyunwoo went very still. The Kang pack. Not a question. Yeah. Shit. He dragged a hand through his graying hair. Shit, Jiwon. They're going to kill you. Probably not. I pulled out the medical kit, checking inventory. I walked away from them. They're too confused right now to be homicidal. You what? Turned my back and walked away. I glanced at him, smirking. You should have seen their faces. Absolutely priceless. Hyunwoo stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You have a death wish. I have priorities, I corrected. And right now, my priority is making sure Daeho and the other kids eat tonight. The alphas can have their existential crisis on their own time. They're going to come down here. I know. They're going to see, he gestured at the room, at the people, at the evidence of everything the Kang Pack had destroyed. I know, I repeated, quieter now. Hunwoo looked at me for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He smiled. You're either the bravest Omega I've ever met, he said, or the stupidest. Can't I be both? He laughed, the sound rough but genuine. Fair enough. I finished with the supplies and moved to the cooking area. Soup was already simmering. Father Kwan's work, probably. I ladled portions into mismatched bowls, carrying them to the people who couldn't stand. Mrs. Yang, 63, arthritis so bad she could barely hold a spoon. I'd bought her medication last week with money I should have spent on my own heat suppressants. Worth it. Park Min-jae, 29, haunted eyes and trembling hands. His husband had worked for the Kang Pak's casino. Past tense. Now Min-jae was raising their 5-year-old son alone, working 3 jobs that barely covered rent. I set the bowl in his hands. Eat, Hyung. You're too thin. So are you, he murmured, but he ate. I made my rounds, checking on everyone, making sure no one was forgotten. This was my routine. Had been for 2 years, ever since I'd started working for the Kang Pak, and realized where my salary was actually coming from. Blood money, every one of it. So I'd made a choice. If I couldn't stop them from destroying lives, I could at least try to piece together what they'd broken. The door at the top of the stairs creaked. Conversation died. Every head turned toward the sound of heavy footsteps descending. 4 sets. Deliberate. Controlled. The alphas had decided to follow after all. I set down the ladle and turned to face the stairs, positioning myself between them and the room. Hyunwoo shifted beside me, crutch in hand like a weapon. Min-jae pulled Daeho behind him. Father Kwan appeared from the back room. Rosary clutched tight. We waited. Minho appeared first, dark eyes sweeping the basement with tactical precision. Jihoon followed, tension radiating off him in waves. Seojin's gaze cataloged everything, every face, every detail. Taehyun brought up the rear, silent and watchful. They stopped at the bottom of the stairs. The basement had gone completely quiet. Even the children had stopped playing, sensing the danger that had just walked into their sanctuary. I felt the weight of 4 alpha stairs, but I didn't lower my eyes. Didn't bow, didn't submit. Instead, I raised my chin and said the most idiotic thing I could have said in that moment. Well, are you just going to stand there, or are you going to help me serve soup? Jihoon's jaw dropped. Seojin blinked, actual surprise flickering across his usually blank expression. Taehyun's lips twitched. And Minho stared at me like he'd never seen me before in his life, which, to be fair, he probably hadn't. For 2 years, I'd been invisible, the quiet assistant who did his job and disappeared. But that version of me had died the moment I walked down these stairs. This version didn't hide anymore. Soup's getting cold, I added, turning back to the pot. And I don't repeat myself. Behind me, I heard Hyunwoo mutter, definitely a death wish. I couldn't help it. I smiled. The silence stretched. Uncomfortable. Heavy. Then Seojin moved. Not toward me. Toward the soup pot. What are you doing? Minho's voice was sharp. He asked us to help, Seojin said simply, picking up a ladle. I'm helping. I blinked. Of all the responses I'd expected, that wasn't one of them. Seojin glanced at me, one eyebrow raised. Unless you were bluffing? I don't bluff, I said, recovering quickly. Bowls are on the left. Start with the kids. He nodded like I'd given him a mission briefing and got to work. Jihoon looked at Minho. Hyung, what the hell? I'm trying to figure that out, Minho muttered, still staring at me like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve. Taehyun brushed past both of them without a word, moving toward the corner where Mrs. Yang sat. He crouched beside her, murmuring something too quiet for me to hear. She looked terrified at first, then confused. Then she smiled. Actually smiled. One of the most dangerous men in Seoul. What timeline was this? Appa, who are they? Daeho whispered loudly to Min-jae. Trouble, Min-jae said, pulling his son closer. I crossed the room and knelt beside them. It's okay. They're not going to hurt anyone. You can't know that, Minji hissed. I can, actually. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Minji's eyes narrowed. Jiwon. Damn it. I'd been so careful for so long, and now I was getting sloppy. Trust me, Hyung, I said quietly. Just this once. He didn't look convinced, but he nodded. I stood and nearly collided with Minho, who'd somehow crossed the room without making a sound. Alpha stealth. Wonderful. We need to talk, he said. We're talking right now. Privately. No. I stepped around him, heading back to the supply area. Anything you want to say, you can say in front of everyone here. He followed, persistent. You're being unreasonable. I'm being protective, I corrected, sorting through medicine bottles. There's a difference. Of what? These people? His tone wasn't cruel, just genuinely confused. You're risking your life for strangers. They're not strangers. I found the pain medication I was looking for and turned to face him. Lee Hunwoo over there? He used to work for you, one of your enforcers, until a job went wrong and you decided someone needed to be punished. So you took his leg, not because he was guilty, but because you needed an example. Minho's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Park Min-jae lost his husband 3 years ago. Kim Woo-jin, your accountant. He knew too much, wanted out, so he disappeared one winter night. No body, no investigation. Minji has been raising their son alone ever since. I watched the information land. Watched Minho's gaze drift to where Minji sat, clutching. Daeho, Mrs. Yang's son owed money to your casino. She sold everything to pay his debt, then got thrown out when she had nothing left. Young Si-woo over there lost his parents when their building mysteriously caught fire the same night they refused to sell to you. Each name was a weight, each story a stone. So no, I continued, voice steady. They're not strangers. They're the people you destroyed, and I know every single one of their stories. Minho was quiet for a long moment. Then, how long have you known? About them? 2 years, about you? I met his eyes. From the beginning. And you still took the job. I needed the money. No point lying now. My little brother is in a care facility. 24-hour nursing. It's expensive. Understanding crossed his face, followed by something that looked almost like respect. You could have poisoned us, he said. Sold information to our enemies. Killed us in our sleep. I could have, I agreed. But I'm not you. That landed harder than I'd intended. Minho actually flinched. Across the room, Seojin was helping Daeho carry bowls to the older residents, moving with surprising gentleness. Ji-hoon stood awkwardly near the stairs, clearly uncomfortable but not leaving. Tae-hyun had somehow convinced Mrs. Yang to let him examine her swollen hands, his touch careful and professional. It was surreal. 4 apex predators in a room full of their victims, and no one was bleeding. Yet. Why are you really here? I asked Minho quietly. You could have just fired me, killed me, made me disappear like you did Kim Woo-jin. Why follow me? He was silent for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, because for 3 weeks I watched you leave every night with those bags. And for 3 weeks I tried to figure out what you could possibly be stealing that was worth risking your life for. Money? Documents? Weapons? He shook his head. It didn't make sense. And now? Now it makes even less sense. His voice was rough. You're using our money to help the people we hurt. You're working for the men who destroyed your life and using it to fix what we broke. Why? I looked at Daeho, laughing as Seojin pretended to drop a bowl and caught it at the last second. At Hyunwoo, watching the alphas with wary hope instead of pure terror. At Father Kwan, praying quietly in the corner. Because someone had to, I said simply. And if not me, then who? Minho stared at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. Maybe I had. In his world, kindness was currency. Mercy was weakness. Compassion was a liability. But in mine, they were the only things worth fighting for. Your soup's getting cold, I said, turning away. Either eat or leave. I have work to do. I felt his gaze burning into my back as I walked away. Let him stare. Let them all stare. I wasn't hiding anymore. If this story is pulling at your heart, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. Because what these alphas are about to learn, it changes everything. The next hour passed in strange, fragile quiet. The alphas didn't leave, didn't threaten anyone. They just stayed. Seojin finished distributing soup and started helping Father Kwan organize the medical supplies with an efficiency that suggested he'd done this before. Taehyun had somehow coaxed 3 of the elderly residents into letting him check their vitals, his hands steady and careful. Even Ji-hoon had stopped lurking by the stairs and was now sitting cross-legged on the floor, letting Daeho and Minseo show him their collection of bottle caps like it was the most important thing in the world. And Minho stood against the far wall, watching everything with those sharp, calculating eyes. Watching me, I tried to ignore it, failed spectacularly. "You're staring," I said without looking. At him, folding blankets. "You're interesting." "I'm really not. You walked away from 4 alphas who could have killed you." His voice was closer now. When had he moved? "You ordered us around in a room full of people we've hurt. You're either suicidally brave or dangerously stupid." "Third option," I said, meeting his gaze. "I'm just tired of being scared." Something shifted in his expression, not quite understanding, but close. "How old are you?" he asked suddenly. Random question. 23. "Why? You seem older." "Trauma does that." I shoved a folded blanket onto the shelf harder than necessary. "Ages you faster than time." Silence stretched between us, not quite comfortable but not hostile either. "Your brother," Minho said quietly. "What happened to him?" My hand stilled. "Why do you care?" "I don't." Blunt. Honest. "But I'm trying to understand you, and I can't do that without context." "Fair enough." "His name is Seo Daehan," I said, voice flat. "He's 19. 4 years ago, he got involved with the wrong people, owed money, tried to pay it back by doing a job he wasn't ready for." I swallowed hard. It went wrong. They broke his spine. Now he can't walk, can't feed himself, can't live without round-the-clock care. "Who did it?" I looked at him, really looked at him. "Does it matter?" "It does to me." "Why? Planning to avenge my honor?" The words came out sharper than intended. "Bit late for that, don't you think?" Minho's jaw tightened. "I'm trying to help." "You want to help?" I laughed bitter. "You've done enough. Your empire, your rules, your violence. It created the world that swallowed my brother whole. So forgive me if I don't trust your sudden attack of conscience." He didn't flinch, didn't argue, just absorbed the hit like he deserved it. Maybe he did. Jiwon. Seojin appeared beside us, tablet in hand. Of course he'd brought a tablet to a homeless shelter. "I need to show you something." I frowned. "Now?" "Now." He pulled up a file, financial records by the look of it, numbers and dates I couldn't make sense of at a glance. "These are your paychecks for the last 2 years, Seojin said, scrolling, "and these are your bank withdrawals. Every single one you've earned has gone to either your brother's care facility or—" He gestured around the basement. "Here. Congratulations, you can track bank accounts." I crossed my arms. "Want a medal?" "You haven't bought yourself anything in 2 years," he continued, ignoring my sarcasm. "No new clothes, no entertainment, nothing. You're wearing a jacket with holes in the sleeves and shoes that should have been replaced 6 months ago." I glanced down. He wasn't wrong. "So? So you're dying." Seojin's voice was matter-of-fact, clinical. "Slowly. You're malnourished, anemic, and based on the scent suppressants I found in your desk drawer, you've been skipping your heat cycles. That's dangerous, Jiwon. Potentially fatal." My face heated. "You went through my desk?" "You've been working for us for 2 years, and I know nothing about you." "Of course I went through your desk." He tilted his head. "You're going to collapse within the month if you keep this up." "Dramatic much?" "I don't do drama. I do data." He showed me another screen, medical projections, probability charts. "You're running on empty. One more missed heat cycle, and your body will start shutting down." "Then I guess I better make these next few weeks count." I tried to walk away. Taehyun blocked my path, silent, immovable. "Move," I said. He didn't. "Taehyun." Minho's voice carried warning. "No." Taehyun spoke for the first time since entering the basement, his voice low and Rough. He needs to hear this. Hear what? I snapped, patience wearing thin. Taehyun reached into his jacket and pulled out a photograph. Old, faded, creased like it had been folded and unfolded 1,000 times. He held it out to me. I didn't want to take it. Something in my gut screamed danger, but my hand moved anyway. The photo showed two boys, maybe 8 and 12 years old. The younger one grinned at the camera, missing a front tooth. The older one stood behind him, protective hand on his shoulder. I knew that grin. Where did you get this? My voice came out strangled. From your brother's room, Taehyun said quietly. At the care facility. My blood turned to ice. You went to see Daehan? I wanted to understand why you'd sacrifice everything for him. Taehyun's dark eyes were unreadable. And I found this, tucked in his drawer. I stared at the photo, at the younger boy's familiar smile, at the older boy's face, a face I'd seen every day for 2 years, a face I was looking at right now. That's impossible, I whispered. Taehyun's expression didn't change. Is it? The basement tilted, sound muffled. My vision narrowed to that photograph, to the impossible truth staring back at me. The older boy in the picture was Taehyun, which meant, you knew my brother, I said slowly, before. I didn't just know him. Taehyun's voice was rough with something that sounded like regret. I was the one who recruited him for that job. The world stopped. What? 4 years ago, your brother needed money, fast. I gave him a way to earn it. His hands clenched at his sides. I told him it was easy, safe. I lied. The photograph crumpled in my grip. You. The word tasted like poison. You're the reason Daehan can't walk. Taehyun didn't deny it, and something inside me shattered. I should have lunged at him, should have screamed, should have done anything except stand there like an idiot, staring at the man who destroyed my brother's life. Instead, I laughed. Not a happy sound, not even close. It bubbled up from somewhere dark and broken, spilling out before I could stop it. Jiwon. Minho's voice cut through the haze. I held up a hand, still laughing. No, this is perfect. Absolutely perfect. I looked at Taehyun, vision blurring at the edges. I've been working for you for 2 years. 2 years. Answering your calls, cleaning your floors, stitching your wounds, and you knew. The whole time you knew who I was. I didn't, his voice was raw. Not until 3 months ago. Liar. I'm not lying. He stepped closer and I stumbled back. Your surname is Han. Your brother's is Seo. Different fathers. I didn't make the connection until I ran a background check. Why would you run a background check on me? Silence. My laugh died. Oh, you thought I was a threat. You were too perfect, Seojin interjected quietly. Too efficient. Never complained, never asked questions, never made mistakes. People like that are either broken or dangerous. And which am I? Both, Minho said. Fair. I turned back to Taehyun, forcing myself to breathe, to think. Tell me what happened. All of it. He glanced at Minho, who nodded. 4 years ago, we needed someone to infiltrate a rival gang's warehouse, Taehyun began, voice flat. Gather intel, get out clean. I was recruiting in Guro, looking for someone desperate enough to take the risk, but smart enough to pull it off. His jaw tightened. Daehan found me. The name hurt to hear. He was 15, Taehyun continued. Told me his older brother was working 3 jobs to keep them afloat after their mother died. Said he wanted to help. Begged me for a chance. My throat closed. I should have said no. He was too young, too eager. But we were running out of time and he was... Taehyun's voice cracked. He reminded me of myself at that age. Reckless, brave, stupid. So you sent a child into a gang warehouse. My voice was ice. I sent him with backup, with a plan. His hands clenched. But the intel was wrong. There were twice as many guards as we'd expected. The backup got pinned down. By the time we got inside, Daehan was... He couldn't finish. I closed my eyes. I'd heard this story before. From doctors. From police. From Daehan himself. In those first awful weeks when he could still speak through the pain. They'd thrown him from a second-floor window. His spine had shattered on impact. I visited him, Taehyun said quietly, every day for 3 months, paid his medical bills, made sure he had the best doctors. But he didn't want me there, didn't want my money, didn't want anything from me. Smart kid, I muttered. He made me promise to stay away from you. Taehyun's dark eyes met mine. Said you couldn't know, that if you found out who was responsible, you'd do something stupid trying to get revenge. My chest tightened. I kept that promise for 4 years, until you walked into our office looking for a job. His voice dropped. I didn't recognize you at first. You'd changed, grown up. But then I saw the way you moved, the way you talked, and I knew. And you hired me anyway. I tried to talk Minho out of it. He wouldn't listen. Minho's expression was carefully neutral. You were qualified. We needed an assistant. Personal history didn't factor into the decision. Bullshit, I spat. You run background checks on everyone. You had to know. I knew you had a brother in a care facility, Minho admitted. I didn't know it was the same kid Taehyun crippled. He never told me the name. I looked between them, pieces clicking into place. So for 2 years I've been working for my brother's destroyer, and neither of you said anything. What would you have wanted me to say? Taehyun's voice was rough. Sorry I ruined your life? Sorry your brother will never walk again because I was too arrogant to double-check the intel? Yes, the word exploded out of me. Yes, I would have wanted you to say something, anything, instead of pretending I didn't exist while I cleaned your blood off the floors and pretended I didn't want to kill you. The basement had gone silent. Everyone was staring. I didn't care. You want to know why I didn't take revenge? I stepped closer to Taehyun, close enough to feel the heat radiating off him. Why I didn't poison your food or sell you out to your enemies? He watched me steady. Because Daehan made me promise not to. My voice cracked. He made me swear that no matter what happened, I wouldn't become like the people who hurt him. Wouldn't let hatred turn me into a monster. I pulled the crumpled photograph from my pocket and shoved it against Taehyun's chest. So I kept my promise. I worked for you, I took your money, and I used every single one to save the people you destroyed, because that's what Daehan would have wanted. Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not revenge, redemption. Taehyun's hand came up slowly, covering mine where it pressed against his chest. His heartbeat thundered beneath my palm. I don't deserve your forgiveness, he said roughly. You're right, you don't. But I want to earn it anyway. I pulled my hand back like I'd been burned. You can't. Then let me try. Why? The question came out broken. Why does it matter? His eyes held mine, and for the first time I saw past the killer to the man underneath, haunted, guilty, desperate. Because you're the first person in 10 years who's looked at me and seen someone worth saving. My breath caught. And because, he continued, voice barely a whisper, I think I've been waiting for you to kill me since the moment you walked through our door. The truth hung between us, fragile and sharp. I should have walked away, should have let him drown in his guilt. Instead, I did something infinitely more dangerous. I stayed. The weight of that decision settled over me like a second skin, heavy, uncomfortable, impossible to ignore. Jiwon, Father Kwan's voice broke the tension. It's getting late. The children need to sleep. Right. The world hadn't actually stopped just because mine had tilted sideways. I stepped back from Taehyun, breaking whatever strange gravity had formed between us. I'll get the bedrolls. I'll help, Jihoon said, appearing at my elbow. I blinked at him. The enforcer who'd looked ready to snap my neck 3 hours ago was now offering to help set up beds for homeless kids. What alternate dimension had I stumbled into? Sure, I said slowly. Storage room is in the back. We worked in silence, pulling out thin mattresses and worn blankets. Jihoon moved with surprising care, laying everything out like he'd done this before. You're good at this, I observed. He shrugged. I have a younger sister. Had. She used to make me help with her sleepovers. Past tense. I didn't ask. We set up sleeping areas for the families with kids, making sure Daiho and Minseo were close to their parents. Mrs. Yang got the corner spot with the most padding. Hyunwoo insisted he was fine on the floor until Jihoon physically picked him up and deposited him on a mattress. Stay, Jihoon ordered. Hyunwoo stared at him. Did you just manhandle me? You're welcome. I bit back a laugh. Across the room, Seojin had somehow convinced Father Kwan to let him inventory the entire medical supply situation. They were huddled over the tablet, Seojin's fingers flying across the screen while the priest pointed out what was running low. And Minho stood near the stairs, watching everything with that calculating expression I'd come to recognize over 2 years. He was planning something. I could feel it. You should go home, I said, approaching him. You've seen what you came to see. Have I? I'm not stealing from you. I'm not selling information to your enemies. I'm just an Omega trying to keep people alive. I crossed my arms. Mystery solved. You can leave now. What if I don't want to? Then you're in my way. I moved to walk past him. He caught my wrist. Gentle. Too gentle for a man who killed people for a living. Let me help, he said quietly. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Help? You want to help? Yes. You've done enough helping. This entire district is your help. I gestured around us. These people are here because of your help. My brother can't walk because of your help. So forgive me if I'm not jumping at the offer. His grip tightened fractionally. I can't undo the past. No, you can't. But I can change what happens next. I looked up at him, searching for the lie, the angle, the hidden agenda. Found nothing but exhaustion and something that looked almost like sincerity. Why? I asked. Why now? You've been destroying lives for years. What makes tonight different? Minho was quiet for a long moment. Then, because tonight I watched an Omega half my size walk away from 4 alphas who could have killed him, and the only thing he cared about was making sure some kids got fed. His dark eyes held mine. That kind of courage is rare. The kind of selflessness rarer still. And I realized I've spent 10 years surrounded by people who would sell their own mothers for power, and not one of them would have done what you did tonight. My breath caught. So maybe I don't deserve to help, he continued, voice rough. Maybe I don't deserve forgiveness or redemption or whatever the hell this is. But I'm asking anyway. The basement was settling into sleep around us. Quiet murmurs, rustling blankets, Deho's soft snoring, normal sounds, safe sounds, sounds that wouldn't exist without me, and maybe wouldn't survive without them. I hated that I was even considering this. If you want to help, I said slowly, then prove it. Don't just throw money at the problem and walk away with a clear conscience. What do you want me to do? Come back. The words felt dangerous leaving my mouth. Every week, help serve food, talk to the people here, learn their names, their stories. I met his gaze. See them as human beings instead of collateral damage. Minho nodded slowly. Okay. I'll come back. We all will. He glanced at the others. If you'll have us. Should have said no. Should have protected these people from the wolves who'd already torn them apart once. But I looked at Seojin, carefully noting down medication needs. At Jihoon, adjusting Hyunwoo's blanket without being asked. At Taehyun, sitting against the wall with his eyes closed, photograph still clutched in his hand. And I thought about what Father Kwan always said. Everyone deserves a chance at redemption, even those who don't deserve it. 1 week, I said finally. You have 1 week to prove you're serious. If I think you're using these people for some PR stunt or playing games, I'll make sure every gang in Seoul knows the Kangpak's weakness. Minho's eyebrow rose. And what weakness is that? I smiled, sharp and dangerous. Me. Understanding flickered across his face. Then impossibly, he smiled back. Fair enough. Father Kwan approached, rosary still in hand. Jiwon, you should rest. You look ready to collapse. He wasn't wrong. Exhaustion was creeping in, and my heat suppressants were wearing off. I could feel the familiar ache starting in my bones. I'm fine. You're a terrible liar, Seojin called from across the room. Mind your business. Your health is our business now, Minho said. Seojin's right. You're running on empty. I've been running on empty for 2 years. I think I can handle 1 more night. Jiwon. Taehyun's voice was quiet but firm. Let us take you home. Home. The tiny apartment I barely saw. The empty refrigerator. The silence. I need to lock up here first. We'll wait. Of course they would. I sighed and started my closing routine. Checked that everyone had blankets. Made sure the space heaters were positioned safely. Confirmed Father Kwan had his emergency phone charge. Normal things. Familiar things. Things that felt different with four alphas watching my every move. Finally, everything was done. The lights dimmed. The door locked. And I stood outside St. Michael's with four men who'd spent the evening turning my entire world sideways. This is insane, I muttered. Probably, Minho agreed. I should tell you all to leave and never come back. You should, Taehyun said, but I'm not going to. No, Jihoon said softly. You're not. Because despite everything, despite the pain and the history and the impossibility of it all, I believe them. Or maybe I just wanted to. This is getting intense, right? Hit that subscribe button because what happens next, let's just say these alphas are about to learn what it really means to protect an omega. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. The black sedan waited at the curb, sleek and expensive and completely out of place in this decaying neighborhood. Minho held the back door open, gesturing for me to get in. I stared at it like it might bite. I can take the bus. At 2 in the morning? Seojun was already in the driver's seat, tablet abandoned for once. Through Guro? Alone? I've done it 100 times. And you'll never do it again, Minho said firmly. Get in the car, Jiwon. I wanted to argue, wanted to prove I didn't need their protection or their pity or whatever this was, but my legs were shaking and my vision was starting to blur at the edges, and the thought of standing on a bus for 40 minutes made me want to cry. So I got in the damn car. Jihoon slid in beside me. Taehyun took the passenger seat. Minho claimed the spot on my other side, bracketing me between two alphas in a space that suddenly felt very, very small. Their scents hit me all at once. Minho's sharp cedar and frost, Jihoon's smoke and leather, Taehyun's rain and steel, Seojun's clean cotton and something sweet I couldn't name. My suppressants were definitely wearing off. Address? Seojun asked, starting the engine. I rattled off my apartment building, trying not to notice how warm Jihoon was beside me, how Minho's thigh pressed against mine in the tight space, how every breath brought more of their scent into my lungs. This was a mistake. The car pulled away from the curb, leaving Guro's shadows behind. We drove in silence, the city's lights blurring past the windows. You're shaking, Minho observed quietly. I'm fine. You keep saying that. I don't think you know what the word means. I glared at him. I know exactly what it means. It means leave me alone and let me handle my own problems. Stubborn, Jihoon muttered. Pot, meet kettle. He snorted, almost a laugh. My apartment building appeared too quickly. Seojun pulled up to the curb and I reached for the door handle. Minho's hand covered mine. We're walking you up. That's not necessary. It wasn't a question. I was too tired to fight, too tired to care. Fine, whatever. 4th floor, apartment 403. They followed me like a pack of overgrown guard dogs, hyper-aware and alert. Jihoon checked the stairwell before letting me enter. Taehyun walked behind me, cutting off any retreat. Minho stayed at my side, close enough that his shoulder brushed mine with every step. Overprotective much? My apartment was exactly as I'd left it. Tiny, sparse, clean because I was never there long enough to make a mess. The alphas filed in behind me, filling the small space with their presence, making it feel even smaller. Well, I said, dropping my keys on the counter, you've seen it. Congratulations. Now you can leave. None of them moved. Seojun was frowning at my kitchen, or lack thereof. When was the last time you ate? Actually ate, not just survived. I eat. Jiwon. Minho's voice held warning. What do you want me to say? That I spend every one I earn on other people and survive on convenience store? Rice balls? That I haven't bought real food in 6 months because Daehan's medication costs more than my rent? I laughed brittle. Congratulations. You've discovered poverty. Want a trophy? We want you to stop killing yourself, Taehyun said quietly from where he'd stationed himself by the door. I'm not. You are. Seojun pulled up something on his tablet. Of course he had. Your medical records, 3 emergency room visits in 2 years, malnutrition, anemia, heat cycle complications. The last doctor's note says you're at severe risk of omega drop if you don't. Stop. My hands clenched. You have no right to access my medical records. I have every right to know if my employee is dying. I'm not your employee anymore, remember. I'm a thief, a traitor, someone you should have killed hours ago. You were never those things, Minho said, and you're still our employee. Unless you want to quit? I stared at him. Are you serious right now? Completely. His expression was unreadable. You can quit. Walk away. Never see us again. We won't stop you. It was a test. Had to be. But, he continued, if you stay, things change. Your salary triples. You get full medical coverage, access to our packed doctor. No more skipping meals. No more dangerous bus rides through Guro at midnight. I don't want your charity. It's not charity. It's compensation for 2 years of underpaying someone who should have been making 3 times what we gave him. Sujun nodded. I ran the numbers. For your skill level and hours worked, you should have been earning at least. I don't care about the numbers, I interrupted. I care about strings. What do you want in return? Nothing, Taehyun said. Liar. Okay, not nothing. Minho stepped closer. We want you to stop trying to die for people who wouldn't do the same for you. We want you to let us help fix what we broke. We want... The room tilted. I grabbed the counter, but my legs had stopped working. Distantly, I heard someone shout my name. Felt arms catch me before I hit the floor. Minho's scent wrapped around me, stronger now. Cedar and frost and something underneath that called to a part of me I'd been suppressing for too long. Heat, I heard Seojin say, voice tight. He's going into heat. No, 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 no. Not now. Not here. Not with them. Out, I managed to gasp. Get out, all of you, now. We're not leaving you like this, Jihoon growled. You have to. My vision was going hazy, my skin too hot, too tight. I don't have, there's no nest, no supplies, you can't. Breathe, Minho ordered, lowering me to the floor. Just breathe. You don't understand. I was shaking apart, coming undone. If you stay, will what? Taehyun knelt beside me, hand gentle on my shoulder. Bond you without permission? Hurt you? We're not animals, Jiwon. But I might be. The confession tore out of me. My heat, it's been so long, I don't know if I can control it. I don't know what I'll do, what I'll say, Then we'll make sure you're safe, Minho said firmly. That's all. Nothing you don't want. Nothing you don't choose. The world was dissolving into sensation and need and fear. And through it all, 4 alphas stayed, didn't run, didn't take advantage, just stayed. Bedroom, Seojin said, already moving. Where is it? I pointed weakly at the only other door in the apartment. He disappeared inside, and I heard drawers opening, fabric rustling. What's he doing? I managed through gritted teeth. Building you a nest, Minho said, still holding me steady. Or the closest thing to one with what you have. I don't need... Yes, you do. His voice was firm but gentle. And you're going to let us help whether you like it or not. Jihoon had moved to the kitchen, pulling open my sad excuse for a refrigerator. There's nothing in here. Literally nothing except expired milk and kimchi from 3 months ago. I've been busy, I muttered. You've been starving. He pulled out his phone. I'm ordering food. Not asking permission. Taehyun crouched in front of me, dark eyes serious. Have you ever gone through heat alone? The question was too intimate, too personal, but the heat was stripping away my filters, leaving me raw. Always, I admitted, can't afford heat hotels, can't risk bonding with strangers. His jaw clenched. How long do they usually last? 3 days, sometimes 4. I was shaking harder now, skin on fire. But it's been over a year since the last one. This is going to be bad. We're not leaving, Minho said again, like he could sense my panic. But we need your permission to stay. Explicit permission. Say yes or say no, Jiwon. Choose. Through the haze of heat and fear and desperately suppressed need, I saw them clearly. 4 alphas who could take whatever they wanted. 4 alphas who were asking instead. Yes, I whispered, but rules. We need rules. Name them, Taehyun said immediately. No, no bonding, no claiming bites, no. I swallowed hard. No sex. Agreed, all four said in unison. If I ask you to leave, you leave. No arguments. Done? And this doesn't mean, it doesn't change anything. After this is over, we go back to whatever this is. Minho's expression softened. Whatever you need. Seojun emerged from my bedroom. Nest is ready. Basic, but functional. You have terrible nesting material, by the way. Sorry I don't keep luxury blankets around for the heat cycles I've been suppressing, I shot back, even as another wave of fire rolled through me. He almost smiled. Come on, you need to lie down before you collapse. Jihoon scooped me up like I weighed nothing. I should have protested, should have insisted I could walk. But I was tired of pretending I didn't need help. My bedroom had been transformed. Every blanket, pillow, and soft thing I owned had been arranged into something resembling a proper nest. It wasn't much. I really didn't have much, but it was more than I'd had in years. Jihoon set me down carefully in the center. The moment I hit the soft surface, my body relaxed fractionally. Water, Minho ordered, and those heat suppressants, wherever he keeps them. Bathroom cabinet, I mumbled, curling into the blankets. But they won't work now. Too far gone. We still need to see what you've been taking. Seojin returned with the bottle, his expression darkening as he read the label. These are expired, and the dosage. He looked at me, something like horror in his eyes. Jiwon, this is triple the recommended amount. You could have died. But I didn't. I tried to sound flippant. Failed. And Daehan's care facility got paid. Fuck the care facility, Jihoon snarled. You're worth more than... Don't. The word came out sharper than intended. Don't you dare tell me what I'm worth. You don't get to decide that. Silence fell, tense and uncomfortable. Then Minho sat on the edge of the nest, careful not to invade too far. You're right. We don't get to decide your worth, but we can tell you what we see. And what we see is an Omega who's been fighting alone for so long, he's forgotten he doesn't have to. My throat tightened. Let us fight with you, he continued quietly. Just for tonight. Just until the heat passes. Then you can go back to pushing us away if you want. I wanted to argue, to push them away right now. But another wave hit and I gasped, curling tighter into the nest. Touch, I heard myself say. I need... What do you need? Taehyun's voice was closer now. Scent. Contact. Something to ground me, please. I'd never begged before. Never let myself be this vulnerable. But heat didn't care about pride. Taehyun climbed into the nest without hesitation, positioning himself behind me. His arms came around me, solid and warm and safe. His scent wrapped around me like a blanket. Like this? He murmured against my hair. Yes. The word came out broken with relief. Minho settled near my front, one hand coming to rest on my shoulder. Grounding. Anchoring. Seojin claimed a spot at the foot of the nest, tablet finally set aside, and Jihoon stationed himself in the doorway, standing guard. Sleep, Minho ordered softly. We've got you. And for the first time in 4 years, I believed it. My eyes drifted closed, the heat still burning, but manageable now, survivable, because I wasn't alone. The last thing I heard before exhaustion dragged me under was Jihoon's quiet voice. Food's here. I'll keep it warm for when he wakes up. Followed by Seojin's response, so soft I almost missed it. We should have noticed sooner, should have seen what he was doing to himself. We see him now, Minho said. That's what matters. And in the space between waking and sleeping, wrapped in the arms of an alpha who'd once destroyed my life, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Safe. The heat came in waves after that. Sometimes I was lucid, accepting water and bland food that Jihoon somehow convinced me to eat. Sometimes I was lost in fever dreams, reaching for touch that was always given freely, never taken. Through it all, they stayed. Taehyun held me through the worst of it, his presence steady and unwavering. Minho kept cool, claws on my forehead, murmuring reassurances when I whimpered. Seojin monitored my vitals with quiet efficiency, adjusting the nest when I got tangled. And Jihoon stood guard, only leaving to get more supplies or answer the door when deliveries came. No one tried to bond me. No one took advantage. They just kept their promise. And somewhere in the haze of heat and fear and unexpected safety, something shifted. Not a bond, not yet, but trust. Fragile and new and terrifying, but real. When I finally surfaced 3 days later, weak and wrung out but alive, the first thing I saw was sunlight streaming through my bedroom window. The second was Taehyun, still beside me, still keeping watch. "Hey," he said softly when my eyes opened. "Welcome back." I tried to speak, managed a croak. He pressed a water bottle to my lips. Slow sips. I drank, grateful and confused and overwhelmed. "The others?" I rasped. "Jihoon's cooking. Suyun went to check on your brother. Minho's handling some business, but he'll be back soon." My brother. "Daehan." I struggled to sit up. "I need to." "He's fine. Better than fine, actually." Taehyun helped me lean against the headboard. Seojun upgraded his care plan. Private room, better equipment, specialized physical therapy. "He what?" "Don't be mad." Too late. "I told you I didn't want charity." "It's not charity, it's..." "Let me guess. Compensation?" I glared at him. Taehyun met my gaze steadily. "It's an apology. One I should have given 4 years ago." The fight drained out of me. "I can't accept that," I said quietly. "You don't have to accept it. But Daehan deserves the best care available, and now he's getting it." His voice was firm. "You can hate me for it if you want. I'll survive." I stared at him, at this alpha who destroyed my brother and was now trying to save him. "I don't hate you." I admitted. "You should." "Yeah." I leaned my head back against the wall. "I really should." But I didn't, and that terrified me more than anything. Jihoon appeared in the doorway, carrying a tray that smelled like heaven. Real food. Actual home-cooked food. "You're awake," he said, something like relief crossing his face. "Good. Eat this before Seojun gets back and starts lecturing about nutrient deficiencies." He set the tray on my lap. Miyakuk, perfectly seasoned. Rice. Banchan that looked homemade. My eyes stung. "You cooked this?" "Don't sound so surprised. I have skills beyond breaking bones." He settled on the floor beside the nest, watching me with unusual gentleness. "Eat. All of it." I picked up the spoon, hands still shaky. The first taste hit my tongue and I nearly cried. When was the last time someone had cooked for me? When was the last time I'd eaten something that wasn't convenience store food? "It's good." I managed. Jihoon's expression softened. "My mom's recipe. She used to make it whenever I was sick." Past tense again. I wanted to ask, but the look in his eyes said not yet. I ate slowly, savoring every bite while Taehyun and Jihoon watched like I might disappear if they looked away. It should have been uncomfortable. Somehow it wasn't. The front door opened. Voices in the living room. "He's awake," Minho called. Not a question. "And eating," Jihoon called back. Footsteps, then Minho and Seojun filled the doorway. Minho looked exhausted, hair mussed like he'd been running his hands through it. Seojun had dark circles under his eyes but was smiling at his tablet. "Your brother's asking for you," Seojun said. "The facility called. He's talking more, asking questions. The new therapy team thinks he might regain some upper body mobility." My spoon clattered into the bowl. "What?" "It's early days," Seojun cautioned. "But the specialists we brought in are optimistic. Better equipment, better care, better chance of improvement." I couldn't breathe, couldn't process. "Daehan, getting better. Actually better. I need to see him," I said, trying to stand. My legs immediately gave out. Minho caught me. "Not today, you're still recovering." "I don't care." "Tomorrow," he said firmly. "We'll take you tomorrow. All of us. But today you rest." I wanted to argue, but my body was already sagging against him, exhausted from just sitting up. "Fine. Tomorrow." I let him ease me back into the nest. "But I'm holding you to that." "I'd expect nothing less." He brushed hair from my forehead, the gesture so unexpectedly tender I forgot how to breathe. We need to talk, Sojin said, settling cross-legged at the foot of the nest. About what happens next. Here it was, the other shoe dropping, the strings attached. I'm listening, I said warily. St. Michael's needs a permanent funding source, Shojin began. Father Kwan showed me the books. They're running on donations and prayer. That's not sustainable. I know that. I've been trying, so we're setting up a foundation, he continued. Registered charity, tax exempt, funded by a percentage of our legitimate business ventures. I blinked. You're what? We're also hiring staff, Minho added. Social workers, medical professionals, teachers, people who can provide real support, not just emergency aid. And housing, Jihoon said. There's a building 3 blocks from the church. Been empty for years. We're buying it, renovating it. Proper apartments for the families? My head was spinning. Why are you doing this? Because you showed us what we'd become, Taehyun said quietly. What we'd destroyed. And we can't undo the past, but we can stop making the same mistakes. We're also restructuring operations, Minho said. No more predatory lending. No more forcing people out of their homes. No more, he paused. No more creating victims. You're going legitimate? I couldn't hide my skepticism. Not entirely. We're still criminals, Jiwon. We're not saints. His smile was wry. But we can be better criminals. Ones who don't destroy lives for profit. And you, Sojin said, looking at me, are being promoted. Director of Community Outreach. Salary commensurate with the position. Full benefits. Company car. Housing allowance. I don't want... We know, all 4 said in unison. Minho leaned closer. But you need it. And more importantly, the people you're helping need you healthy and alive. So either you accept the position and let us support your work properly, or we'll just do it behind your back and you'll have no control over how it's run. Manipulative bastard. That's blackmail, I said. That's incentive, he smiled. So what do you say? I looked at each of them. 4 alphas who'd walked into that church basement as destroyers and were somehow, impossibly, trying to become protectors. 4 alphas who'd kept me safe through heat without asking for anything in return. 4 alphas who were looking at me like I mattered. On one condition, I said finally. Name it, Minho said immediately. I want to see the books, all of them. And I get final say on how the foundation money gets spent. Done. And no more going through my medical records without permission. Seojin had the grace to look sheepish. Agreed. And you have to actually show up. No throwing money at the problem and disappearing. If you're doing this, you're doing it properly. We will, Taehyun promised. I took a deep breath. Then, okay, yes, I'll take the position. The relief on their faces was almost comical. But this doesn't mean I forgive you, I added quickly. Or that we're, whatever this looks like, I still don't fully trust you. Fair, Minho said. Trust is earned. We know that. We have time, Jihoon added. All the time you need, Seojin agreed. Taehyun just smiled, quiet and genuine. Thank you for giving us a chance. I wanted to stay guarded, to keep my walls up, but I was so tired of fighting alone. Don't make me regret this, I said. We won't, Minho promised. Then he did something that made my heart stutter. He took my hand carefully, giving me every chance to pull away. I didn't. His thumb brushed across my knuckles. We're going to do better, Jiwon. Be better. You have my word. Words are easy, I said. Actions matter. Then watch us. His dark eyes held mine. Watch us prove we mean it. And somehow I believed him. 3 months later, I stood in the newly renovated community center, watching kids play in the courtyard that used to be rubble. Daehan sat beside me in his wheelchair, smiling as he directed a group of teenagers in an art project. He still couldn't walk, but his hands worked now. His voice was strong, and he was happy. You did this, he said quietly. You saved all of them. Not alone, I admitted, watching as Minho argued with a contractor about paint colors. As Seojin helped Mrs. Yang fill out housing applications, as Jihoon taught Daeho Taekwondo in the gym, as Taehyun sat with the older kids listening to their stories with patient attention. No, Daehan agreed, following my gaze. Not alone. Minho caught me staring and smiled. Actually smiled. Warm and real and meant just for me. My heart did something complicated. You know, Daehan said too casually, Taehyun visits me every week, brings books, helps with my therapy, talks about you constantly. He does not. He really does. It's embarrassing, he grinned, but also kind of sweet, in a former destroyer trying to make amends way. I shoved his shoulder gently. Shut up. Make me. We laughed, and it felt like being young again, like having a brother again, like having a future. Minho crossed the courtyard, stopping in front of me. Ready to go home? Home. The apartment they'd moved me into last month. Bigger, safer, close enough to the center that I could walk, close enough to their compound that they could reach me in minutes. Yeah, I said. Let's go home. As we walked out together, Daehan called after us. Jiwon, don't do anything I wouldn't do. That leaves literally everything, I yelled back. His laughter followed us into the evening. Later, standing on my balcony with four alphas who'd somehow become my pack, watching the sunset paint Seoul in golden pink, I felt something settle in my chest. Peace, not forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe not. Ever completely. But peace and hope and the strange, terrifying, wonderful feeling of belonging. Thank you, I said quietly. For what? Minho asked. For staying. His hand found mine in the dark. Always. And for the first time in 4 years, I believed in always. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button. We bring you emotionally gripping BL stories like this every time. Stories about love, redemption, and second chances. Drop a comment telling us what you felt, which alpha was your favorite, and what you want to see next. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Your support means everything. See you in the next story.